research methods today. So assume that Mrs. Arrington asked you all to write a research paper for her class. What would you do first?
I would want to know the topic.
I'm sorry?
I'd want to know the topic.
You have to write a research paper on someone famous and their research in biology.
Okay.
I would go to reliable research websites first.
.edu.
And then
How do you know that they're reliable?
Not .coms, not Wikipedia.
Why not Wikipedia?
Because
it's
anyone
easy
can
to
go on there and
change
change it. Anyone
It
can
can
go
be
on.
edited by anyone,
Yeah.
right?
I've edited Wikipedia.
I'm sorry.
I've edited on Wikipedia.
Okay. You can actually, Wikipedia is not a completely terrible resource to use for just learning about a topic because it's pretty well, what's the word I'm looking for?
Bad.
People actually focus on, have jobs where they're supposed to do that actual research and make sure that what's being edited is correct. However, you still don't need to use Wikipedia as a research source to cite on your papers because it could be wrong. And there are a lot of things on Wikipedia that you'll see that headline at the top that talks about how it's not, there aren't many sources or there's not a lot of citation on it. So whenever you Google something, how do you know that it's a good resource?
.edu. .net.
Why .edu?
Education.
Education. A reliable source.
And it's usually from with
Degrees.
and they focus their research on that specific topic. It's not just somebody blogging about it. Correct?
Right.
Okay, so how many of you have ever used your library? This is Text Libraries webpage for those of you who don't have. A lot of you are AP students and have actually taken classes at Tech, correct? But your library page here at Dover isn't working today, so we're going to use Text. How many of you done research looking for like scholarly articles? One of you? Okay, so whenever you are going to be, a lot of you are going to college, I assume, hence the AP course. But whenever you get into college, you have to cite scholarly articles for your research papers, which you're going to be asked to do a lot. There are much better resources that your school has access to that Google will ask you to pay for. So knowing how to use your school's library website is going to be a really valuable resource for you. And Boolean commands, which is what we're talking about on the handout I gave you, is a good way to narrow your search. So, and I'm going to go over here, not my computer. Whenever you're looking up biology and what's a name of a scientist?
Gregor Mendel.
Let's hope I'm still logged in. It will give you specific articles that include biology and Gregor Mendel whenever you put capitalized and. It narrows the search in such a way that it gives you articles that have both. Now, if you were to look up something and you wanted to say or, so you could say biology or genetics and Gregor Mendel. And so it will give you either biology or genetics, but either way it's both going to include Gregor Mendel. So it finds a way to narrow your search because whenever you were to research just one of those options, it'll give you a ton of stuff. Have you ever just Googled biology?
No.
You want to try it? Okay. It's going to give you countless numbers of options. I mean, just here, it's giving you 500,062,933 options. So using the Boolean commands you can narrow that down even more. What's something else about Gregor Mendel that you might want to research? More specifically.
Peas.
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 So on this one below, we'll type peas. And look at how much that narrowed it down. We have 1,497 options compared to the over 500,000 we had before. Whenever you're doing these research options, it's so much easier to do it this way because you're going to have to look through a ton of stuff to find what you're actually looking for anyway. And whenever you can narrow it down in this way, you might find everything that you're looking for just on this first page. Whereas beforehand, you might have had to go through pages and pages of results just having to figure out what you're looking for. So there's also the not option, which by saying not peas, say you want to look up Gregor Mendel and anything but peas, which lots and lots of options yet again, but the not option tells you, I want everything that has anything to do with this, but I don't want to see anything that has peas in it. You're tired of peas, you're sick of peas. So, there are other options for Boolean commands, such as truncation. Say you want to look up genetics or anything with the word gene in it. You'd put a little asterisk on the end, and look at how much that narrowed it down. But this asterisk says, I want it to say genes, genetics, genealogy, would that work?
Probably.
Should work.
Yeah.
Anyway, it narrows it down in such a way that you have it narrows it while broadening it actually, because it'll say genes and anything that could end on the end of the word gene. With Google, you can use natural language, such as, what did Gregor Mendel have to do with peas? And you can type that in and it'll probably give you an answer. With a lot of your library sites, it won't let you do that. However, you can refine a lot of your searches on your library sites to certain kinds of research. Let me see. It's really hard to do that over there. Say you only want to reference scholarly articles and you don't want all results, you just want the academic journals. And it'll update it that way. So instead of having book reviews, which you don't need book reviews for your research, right?
Right.
Most of the time you won't. So that's another way to do that. Do we have any questions? Alright. So do you guys want to try and do a few examples of these?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Alright. What do we want to look at?
Steroids and their use in athletics.
Steroids.
We have football players in here, Charlie.
John
How do
did
you
steroids.
Close enough.
And
How to be small.
athletics.
Sports.
Was that the bell?
No, you're good. That's the early lunch
So-
bell.
Ooh.
You now have 171 options that mention steroids just with athletics.
Nice.
But if you were to take away athletics,
524,000.
27,000 and some odd numbers of research. Okay, let's try one with truncation.
Little piece.
Potassium.
Potassium.
So it can end with any word that ends with multiple endings, like a verb.
All
Quick.
What?
quick. Oh, quick.
Quick.
Quick?
Quickly.
Something a little
Yeah.
more.
Pretentiously.
Okay, you guys are stuck on adverbs. But
Fast.
let's say you want to look up
Planting.
Plantain.
children or a child or anything with that.
Oh, like
Childs.
that.
And
Kids.
steroids.
Steroids.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Tyson chicken.
The super buff kids.
Bendale.
So, you have all these options now for children and steroids.
It's sad. There's so much more. for
Steroids are
steroids
they're
in
often
children.
given as like medicine.
Right.
So
Mhm.
But I find it kind of funny that there's 3,000 something that results for children or child or whatever.
Put-
Steroids.
Put and asthma in there.
Yeah.
and asthma.
No, say not
And there's 3,000 for children's
How do you spell
steroids.
asthma?
A-
While there's only like 171 with.
That's make a
Is that asthma?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now you narrowed it down even more to 384 options. So, say you want to look at all of these and you're wanting to write a paper on how steroids are being used to treat asthma in children. So, you have all of these, and maybe you want to look for it in a certain, narrow it down even more to just pediatric allergy and immunology.
Wow.
You narrowed it down to 49 options.
Nice.
So, now you have 49 different articles that you have to reference that are very specific to what you're looking for.
This would have been so helpful when I was researching gun control laws.
It would be. It's very useful, and having this tool at in your arsenal for all of these things, it's not something that's often taught in high school, but it's very much expected of you in college.
Mm-hmm.
So once you get there, if you don't know how to do this and you don't know how to use it, then you're stuck Googling stuff and hopefully not falling into the trap of paying for these articles, which your school pays for you to use. And you probably even have these options here at Dover High School, assuming that your library webpage works. Yes,
Could we narrow it down to just PDF?
yes, you could. I believe anyway.
That'd be under subjects.
Source types, probably. Well,
Where is source types? Do you see it?
yeah, right above you.
Well, it just kind of has academic journals and it's the same 49.
Is there a
But
form?
most of them are going to be PDFs anyway because that's how it's put in
Mm-hmm.
on
Oh,
most of them.
PDFs. I thought you said pediatrics. I'm like, oh, it's already pretty much there.
Yeah. This one narrowed it down really well. So having that immunology and whatever else it said.
Why isn't it extended to 2015, like school, the dates only to 2014?
Well, for one thing, it's probably going to show you the most relevant articles first.
Yeah.
I'm assuming, anyway.
Yeah, and scientific articles, most of them have to be peer reviewed before they are released. And so there's a process after the person writes the article, they submit it to their peers, and then it's peer reviewed and approved, edited, whatever, and then it's released. So they may write it in 2014, but it may not actually be published till 2015, 16, whenever.
So, there are other ways to refine it too. Say you only want to look up certain databases. So Academic Search Complete is what it normally starts out on, but you can narrow it down to, this list is actually huge. So any of these different kinds of research, say you're doing research in education, you can include that. And I'm just gonna search. So that brought you even more articles. You now have 714. And that's just by editing your databases, which are right here. And you can look through all of these databases and kind of decide, like education, that doesn't really affect us right now in this class. But you have all kinds of different databases that you can use.
have a literary one somewhere.
Mhm.
Yeah. They have like MLA databases, and then you have like wildlife and ecology studies, which you would possibly be able to use in a biology classroom. I don't know what databases Dover High School uses.
I don't know.
And the college is, of course, probably going to have way more options
Mhm.
because they probably have way more funding for it.
It's a little fun though.
How often do you guys go to the library?
When I'm
All
forced
the
to.
time, actually.
Once every like 2 weeks.
Once every 9 weeks.
Once every 9 weeks?
When we go there in class.
Yeah.
When you go there in class? Well, your librarian can tell you any of these things. Your librarian can tell you all of the specific databases that Dover High School has. And your library is a really, really useful source. And they can show you all of these online resources as well as the ones that are written down in text for you to check out and look at in class. And I really encourage you to use your library for research because they will know exactly where to point you. That is their job. Any more questions? I am not filling up this time enough. So,
You're almost there.
What is the most common search?
no, that is something you would have to Google.
If you can't get on to like this library thing, you just type in Boolean command or whatever commands on Google and like pull you the websites that allow you to do it.
Yeah, you can Google, you can actually use Boolean commands on, I believe, but it's not a site that necessarily you have to because you can use natural language on Google.
I'm pretty
You
sure
can
you
use
can
like
make it.
/org and or something, and it'll bring up just all the .orgs.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's another thing. Whenever you're doing research, using very specific words on Google, if you decide to use Google, is a great way to narrow your search anyway. If you just ask these brief, broad questions, it's going to pull up all kinds of stuff usually because it has all of these words to search.
I think you can cut off like .coms and stuff like that too.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like almost certain.
Is this library thing actually available to like the public, or is it just available to tech
This is
students?
for tech students, but like I said, you guys have these options, probably not as many of these options through Dover High School, but like I said, your library page was down. I wanted to use your library page. I thought that would have been the best way to do this, but
We couldn't get on it.
yeah, we couldn't get on it. We had issues.
If you want to use text, I can let you use my password and stuff.
And yeah, you guys all probably know somebody that's in college that would let you access it.
Mhm.
Also, if you were to go to the tech library for your research,
Yeah.
they could probably help you figure out how to use all of these.
Mhm. They'll give you a guest pass.
Or if you have comp, you get yours halfway through the semester. This semester.
Yeah, but
AP
your,
Comp?
your tech library, it'll still work the same way like a local library would. Your local library also will have access to certain kinds of research.
Mhm. They'll have a lot of
Wait,
them.
over at the library?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's over there behind the Dollar General.
Dover's library. I
Up
mean,
on
our
the hill.
But
library,
you can
like,
go to the Russellville, Polk County Public Library. You can go to any library and that librarian can tell you how to access any of these research options because they have paid for the access to all of this. And so you're not just stuck at home using Google, hoping that you're finding resources that are scholarly and reliable.
Mhm.
And of course you can use your best judgment on which ones are reliable, like using the EDU sites, organizations, but you also have to realize that some organizations are going to be biased in the information that they give. So EDU is usually the best way to go, but there are other reliable sources that are going to give you unbiased opinions. Any more questions?
What about .net?
.net.
Those are network-based websites
It's
they'll
like .coms.
usually have
Yeah.
a bias.
It would be, it would be biased.
So those aren't good?
Well, there is,
You
no,
don't
it's
wanna
not
use,
good. It's
depending
just-
on the research that you're doing, like if you're researching people's political opinions, then maybe going to a .net would help you figure out kind of what they are trying to say, and you could say that this is what so-and-so's leaning toward. But if you want something scholarly, research-based,
.gov.
Some.gov.
then the .edus and any of these things that are going to be peer-reviewed into journals are kind of what you're going to be looking for. Yes.
They show images on there, like look at pictures.
Well, whenever you're just looking through the database, this is how it's going to show your search results. Some of them might have images, like you can kind of see right here, there's some sort of image.
Whenever you showed whenever you're looking for Gregor Mendel, it popped up on the right hand side that it's like it showed some pictures of him. It's
Oh,
not
cool.
like search for images.
Yeah, you can
Kind of weird.
kind of search that way, but most of the time, this is kind of what it's going to look like. And it might show like small pictures. It says show all 5 images. You can look at them, but it just kind of depends on what you're looking for. Google Images might be a better way to go if you're looking for a specific image. However, you know, that can be a bit of a rabbit hole too, so. Anything else? Are you guys going to use Boolean commands whenever you have to do research?
They're actually, next semester, we've already talked about doing a paper on a mental health issue, remember?
Oh yeah.
I think we'll use this technique.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope you did.
I
Yeah, and
think we'll
also
use
whenever
this.
you're writing these articles, your teachers ask you to put a works cited page at the end, right? Whenever you have to write these papers.
Yeah.
We're moving
They
on.
look at the sources that you cite. And it's always a good way for them, if they see something that you put in your paper that's really interesting, they use those sources to look back on it and kind of see what was going on with that source and might use that source later. So this is a great way to also educate your teachers.
I got you.
But we can be on it.
Thanks. I need some
All right.
education.
Are we good?
You're good. Thank you very much.